Hey guys, you are not tired. You are just living completely wrong, and society lied to you about what happens when you turn 40. You were sold a very specific script for your life. Put your head down, grind out 60-hour work weeks, secure the promotion, buy the 4-bedroom, 3,000 square foot house in the quiet suburbs, fully fund your 401k, and then, magically, you will cross the finish line into a state of permanent happiness. So you did it. You checked all the boxes. But now you wake up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. Your lower back aches in a way it never did before. Your energy is depleted, and instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel an overwhelming, suffocating emptiness. You look around at the life you built and wonder, is this really all there is? This is the great midlife reality check that nobody warned you about. The harsh truth that getting everything you were supposed to want does not actually fix what is broken inside you. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this exact psychological trap over 2,000 years ago. Emperor Marcus Aurelius had unimaginable wealth and absolute power over the Roman Empire. Yet he realized that the external things people desperately pursue are ultimately empty, hollow, and trivial. He knew that the problem is not your age, and it is not that you haven't achieved enough. The root of your midlife crisis is that you have spent the last 2 decades wanting all the wrong things. We fall victim to what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, running endlessly on a treadmill where we acquire a new car or a bigger paycheck, feel a brief spike of joy, and then immediately return to our baseline of dissatisfaction, hungering for the next shiny object. We sacrificed our 20s and 30s for a future payoff, grinding away while ignoring the present moment, falsely believing that external success would automatically yield internal peace. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Rome, diagnosed this human flaw perfectly when he observed that we spend our entire lives preparing to live, constantly postponing our happiness for a future date that is never actually guaranteed. We mistakenly view death as something far off in the distance, failing to realize that we are dying every single day, and that the time which has already passed belongs to death. Your exhaustion and disillusionment right now come from the crushing weight of realizing that you have tied your entire self-worth and happiness to external outcomes that you never truly controlled. You cannot control the fact that you are getting older, that your metabolism is slowing down, or that the corporate ladder you climbed feels like a meaningless dead end. However, the Stoics offer a powerful, immediate cure for this exact despair. They teach us the dichotomy of control. While you cannot dictate the external circumstances of your aging or the societal pressures around you, you possess absolute, unbreakable control over your own judgments, desires, and responses to those events. True freedom and enduring joy only begin when you stop demanding that the world bend to your expectations and instead start mastering your internal landscape. It is time to stop playing a game you were never designed to win. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the brutal, unspoken truths about life after 40 and explore how adopting a Stoic mindset can completely salvage and rewire the second half of your existence, transforming your current midlife frustration into profound, unshakable strength and clarity. You have spent your entire adult life operating under a severely flawed psychological contract. One that promised that if you simply worked hard enough and acquired the right possessions, a lasting sense of contentment would magically follow. Think about the day you finally got the keys to that dream house, or the afternoon you received the promotion to vice president you had been chasing for 5 years. For perhaps 48 hours, you felt a surge of triumph, a rush of dopamine that convinced you that you had finally arrived. But how long did that feeling actually last before the end of the week? The promotion just became a heavier workload with more stressful meetings, and the dream house just became a 30-year mortgage payment with a lawn that needed constant mowing. This is the disease of midlife dissatisfaction, and it is entirely self-inflicted. We have been conditioned to play the if-then game. If I earn $200,000 a year, then I will be secure. If I lose 20 pounds, then I will be confident. If I can just get the kids into a good university, then I can finally relax. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus diagnosed this exact condition when he stated that it is quite impossible to unite happiness with a yearning for what we do not have. Happiness, he argued, has all that it wants. When you perpetually tie your well-being to the next milestone, you are essentially guaranteeing your own misery because the finish line is always moving. You are running a marathon where the organizers keep adding another 10 miles just as you are about to cross the tape. The Stoics recognized that this relentless pursuit of external validation is a trap that degrades the human spirit. They categorized things like wealth, social status, and even physical health as preferred indifference. It is perfectly fine to prefer having a large bank account over being broke, or to prefer having a respected job title over being unemployed. But these things are completely indifferent to your actual character and your ultimate happiness. Your 401k retirement balance does not dictate your moral worth, and the luxury sport utility vehicle in your driveway cannot insulate you from the existential dread that creeps in at night. The crisis you are experiencing right now in your 40s or 50s is the painful collision between the lie you were sold and the reality you are living. You are realizing that you have traded your youth, your energy, and your peace of mind for preferred indifference that cannot love you back and cannot heal your soul. Seneca warned us about this ruinous acquisition, pointing out the absolute madness of desiring so much when we can actually hold so little. We drown ourselves in external pursuits, growing so accustomed to them that luxuries become necessities. And instead of enjoying our lives, we become slaves to our own lifestyles. The exhaustion you feel in your bones is not from physical labor. It is the heavy, suffocating fatigue of carrying a burden of desires that are not even truly your own. Society told you to want the corner office, the bigger paycheck, and the perfect suburban image, and you blindly accepted that programming. To cure this midlife disease, you must fundamentally sever the link between your internal peace and your external achievements. You must accept the harsh reality that no amount of money, no level of prestige, and no future retirement plan will ever provide the fulfillment you are starving for today. True contentment is an inside job, forged entirely in the present moment through the discipline of your own mind. by looking at the life you already have and deciding that it is finally enough. You stand in front of the bathroom mirror under the harsh fluorescent lights, pulling at the skin around your eyes and noticing the undeniable gray hairs multiplying at your temples. You realize that the physical stamina you once took for granted is slipping away. And suddenly, a simple 5-mile jog leaves your knees aching for days. This brings us to the third brutal reality. Your desperate, clinging fear of losing your youth is exactly what is making you so miserable right now. We live in a culture that worships the illusion of eternal youth, convincing you that aging is some sort of personal failure or a disease to be cured with $300 anti-aging serums and exhaustive workout routines. But you are fighting a war against nature, and it is a war you are mathematically guaranteed to lose. The Stoics recognize that our greatest suffering comes from attaching our deepest sense of identity to things that are inherently fragile, temporary, and entirely outside of our control. Your physical body, your hairline, your metabolism, and your youthful energy are all categorized by the Stoic philosophers as external things, loaned to you by nature for a brief period. Emperor Marcus Aurelius observed that human beings suffer immensely because they want things to remain frozen in time, forgetting that the universe is in a constant state of flux and transformation. When you desperately try to hold on to your 20s and 30s, you are essentially demanding that the universe stop operating according to its own fundamental laws. You become like a person standing on the shoreline, trying to hold back the ocean tide with your bare hands, inevitably becoming exhausted and soaked in frustration. Epictetus taught that if you attach your happiness to things you cannot control, like the inevitable aging of your cells, you will always be a slave to anxiety and disappointment. We torture ourselves by looking at old photographs and grieving for a version of ourselves that no longer exists, failing to realize that the past is entirely gone and our obsessive nostalgia is stealing the joy of the present moment. Seneca acutely noted that we die every single day, because every day that passes is a day that belongs to death. By refusing to accept your current age, you are rejecting the present reality and mourning a loss that is simply a natural progression of human existence. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned that if you consider your body as your own permanent possession, you will be crushed when nature eventually calls it back. He famously said that disease and physical decline are impediments to the body, but they are absolutely not impediments to your mind or your will unless you allow them to be. You are not your aching joints, and you are not the wrinkles forming on your forehead. Those are merely the natural signs of a changing season. Just as leaves falling from a tree in autumn are not a tragedy but a beautiful, necessary part of the cycle of life. By resisting this cycle, you create an unbearable psychological friction. You are caught in a downward spiral of attachment, constantly measuring your current worth against an outdated, youthful baseline that you can never return to. The solution is not to give up on your health or stop taking care of yourself, but to radically shift your expectations. You must practice the discipline of desire, which means training yourself to stop desiring things to be exactly as they once were, and instead actively choosing to embrace things exactly as they are right now. When you stop agonizing over the fact that you can no longer pull an all-night work session or recover instantly from a minor injury, you free up a massive amount of psychological energy. You can redirect that energy inward, building an intellectual and moral fortress that time cannot erode. The second half of your life is not a slow decline into irrelevance. It is a profound invitation to transition from physical reliance to absolute mental mastery. This brings us to the ultimate turning point, the profound shift in perspective that separates those who break down in their 40s from those who break through. You have to realize that almost everything you have been stressing over for the past 2 decades is none of your business. You think you're in control of your life, but you're actually trying to micromanage the entire universe. And that is exactly why you feel so incredibly burnt out. The former slave turned master philosopher Epictetus laid down the ultimate law of human freedom over 2,000 years ago when he stated simply that some things are in our control and others are not. In our control are our opinions, our pursuits, our desires, and our aversions. But not in our control are our bodies, our property, our reputations, and our positions. Think about a 45-year-old man who did everything right. He arrived at the office early every single day, worked late into the evenings, and sacrificed his weekends to climb the corporate ladder. Then, one Tuesday morning, a brief email announces a company merger, and his position is immediately eliminated. Or consider a woman who dedicated her entire adult life to building a perfect marriage and a pristine home in the suburbs, only to have her spouse suddenly ask for a divorce. When these massive life quakes hit, our default reaction is to completely fall apart, to scream at the unfairness of it all, and to demand to know why we are being punished after playing by all the rules. We suffer so deeply in these moments because we suffer from a fundamental delusion of control. We falsely believe that if we just work hard enough, we can dictate the behavior of our bosses, the loyalty of our partners, the fluctuations of the stock market, and the trajectory of our health. But the brutal, inescapable truth is that you never actually controlled any of those things. The Stoics recognize that tying your emotional stability to external factors is a recipe for guaranteed misery. When you base your self-worth on your job title, your bank account, or the opinions of your peers, you are essentially handing the keys to your happiness over to a total stranger on the street and hoping they do not crash the car. This is where the Stoic shift changes everything. You must draw a harsh, unbreakable line in the sand between what is yours and what belongs to fate. You cannot control the economy, but you have absolute control over whether you update your resume and learn a new skill. You cannot control whether your teenager makes a foolish mistake, but you completely control how patiently and wisely you respond to them. You cannot control the fact that traffic is backed up for 10 miles on the interstate, but you fully control whether you spend that hour gripping the steering wheel in a state of high blood pressure rage or calmly listening to an educational audiobook. Freedom is not about forcing the world to give you what you want. Freedom is about mastering your internal landscape so thoroughly that the external world can no longer disturb your peace. Whenever you feel that familiar knot of anxiety tightening in your chest, you must stop and ruthlessly ask yourself if the thing you are worrying about is actually within your direct control. If it is not, you must train yourself to immediately categorize it as none of your concern. This is not about giving up or becoming passive. It is about aggressively reallocating your limited human energy away from unwinnable battles and investing every ounce of your focus into the only territory you actually govern: your own mind, your own choices, and your own character. If you define your success by outcomes that are ultimately in the hands of other people, you have deliberately rigged the game against yourself. And that is precisely why you feel like a constant failure in your 40s. We just talked about drawing a harsh line between what you can control and what you cannot. But how do you actually apply that to a demanding real life filled with 30-year mortgages, quarterly performance reviews, and relentless daily responsibilities? You cannot simply stop caring about your career or your family. And the ancient Stoics never told you to become completely passive or indifferent to the world around you. Instead, they developed a brilliant psychological strategy known as internalizing your goals. The philosopher Epictetus frequently discussed focusing only on our own will. And modern Stoic thinkers often explain this vital concept through the metaphor of playing a game of tennis. When you step onto the court, your default, unquestioned goal is to win the match. But whether you actually win or lose does not just depend on your own effort. It depends heavily on the skill level of your opponent, the calls made by the referee, the physical conditions of the court, and perhaps even a random gust of wind. If your entire sense of self-worth is tied to the external goal of winning, you are going to experience massive anxiety during the game and devastating depression if you happen to lose. Now, apply this directly to your adult life. For the last 20 years, your goals have probably been entirely external. You said to yourself, I want to get this specific promotion. I want my children to get accepted into this top-tier university. Or I want to build a company that generates $1 million in annual revenue. Because all of these outcomes require the cooperation of external forces. You have spent 2 decades living in a state of chronic, exhausting vulnerability. You have effectively handed the remote control of your emotional state over to your boss, to college admissions boards, and to the unpredictable fluctuations of the economy. The Stoic solution to this midlife exhaustion is to completely rewrite the goal itself. You must shift your objective from the external outcome, which you do not control, to the internal effort, which you absolutely control. In the tennis match, your new goal is no longer to win. Your new goal is to play the absolute best game of tennis that you are capable of playing. If you play to the utmost of your ability and still lose to a superior opponent, you have not failed your goal. You succeeded, and you can walk off the court with your head held high and your peace of mind intact. In your career, your goal is no longer to secure the promotion. Your goal is to work with absolute integrity, to be an excellent colleague, and to put together the strongest possible presentation you can muster. If the promotion ultimately goes to the chief executive officer's nephew instead of you, You do not suffer a crushing blow to your fundamental identity, because your goal was internal and you achieved it perfectly. You did your absolute best. This psychological shift is incredibly empowering for the second half of your life. It means you never have to feel like a helpless victim of circumstance ever again. When you internalize your goals, you take back all of your power from the external world. You become completely self-sufficient. The sharp sting of rejection, the paralyzing fear of failure, and the suffocating anxiety of the unknown all begin to evaporate because your personal success is no longer dependent on the applause of the crowd or the shallow validation of modern society. Your success is determined entirely by your own character and your own disciplined effort in the present moment. You transition from desperately hoping the world will reward you to quietly rewarding yourself through your own virtuous actions. This is exactly how you build an impenetrable fortress of mental resilience that no corporate downsizing, no economic recession, and no midlife crisis can ever tear down. Just when you think you have finally cracked the code, right at the moment you sit back and tell yourself that you have mastered your mind and internalized your goals. That is exactly when the universe will deliver its most humbling blow. This is the great blind spot of midlife arrogance. You read a few ancient texts. You start practicing the dichotomy of control. You successfully let go of a minor inconvenience at the grocery store, and suddenly you convince yourself that you are an invincible, enlightened philosopher. But the Stoic teacher Epictetus delivered a sharp warning against this exact trap, advising his students never to call themselves philosophers, but to simply show it through their daily actions. Because boasting about your mental progress is the fastest way to sabotage it. Imagine the typical scenario: you have spent the last month diligently working on your internal reactions. You feel a profound sense of calm that you have not experienced since your 20s. You feel so confident in your new mindset that you actually start judging your peers, silently looking down on your coworkers who are still stressing over quarterly earnings, or your neighbors who are obsessing over their lawn care. Then, a perfectly normal Tuesday arrives. Your teenager rolls their eyes and speaks to you with profound disrespect, or you receive an unexpectedly massive bill for a home repair, and, in a fraction of a second, your entire philosophical fortress completely collapses. You snap, you yell, you feel your blood pressure skyrocket, and you immediately plunge into a deep spiral of shame, wondering why all your mental training evaporated into thin air. We fall into this trap because human psychology is wired to seek a permanent finish line. We desperately want to believe that emotional resilience is like riding a bicycle, something you learn once and never forget. But the reality is that mental discipline is a perishable skill that requires relentless, daily maintenance. When we experience a brief period of peace, our ego sneaks in through the back door and whispers that we are finally superior to the chaotic world around us. Seneca pointed out this exact vulnerability when he noted that periods of calm and prosperity can actually soften us, making us arrogant and entirely unprepared for the sudden storms of fate. The arrogance of assuming you have nothing left to learn is the very thing that blinds you to your own lingering weaknesses. The ancient Stoics knew that true wisdom requires absolute, unbreakable humility. To survive this blind spot, you must adopt the mindset of an eternal student. You have to realize that you are never actually finished, and that every single day is a brand new test of your character. Instead of congratulating yourself for keeping your temper during a 10-mile traffic jam on the interstate, you must remain acutely aware that the next challenge is already waiting just around the corner. A powerful, practical tool to maintain this humility is the Stoic evening meditation. At the end of every day, before you go to sleep, you must ruthlessly audit your own behavior. You ask yourself where you fell short, what unnecessary desires you entertained, and how you could have responded with more grace. When you actively look for your own flaws, you prevent your ego from building the illusion of perfection by embracing the fact that you will constantly stumble and that you are always a work in progress. You strip the ego of its power. You stop trying to prove to the world that you are an unbreakable rock, and you simply focus on doing the quiet, unglamorous work of correcting your course every single time you drift off the path. Once you begin the daily work of humbling your ego and auditing your reactions, you will inevitably smash into another massive, invisible anchor, dragging down the second half of your life, your desperate, suffocating need for other people to validate your existence. This is the bitter truth about your pursuit of status. You have spent the last 20 or 30 years making exhausting financial and personal decisions entirely based on what a group of strangers or passing acquaintances might think of you. You financed that $80,000 luxury sport utility vehicle, not because it transports you down the interstate any more effectively than a reliable used sedan, but because you secretly craved the subtle look of envy on your neighbor's face when you parked in your driveway. You sacrificed your evenings and weekends to secure a shiny new corporate title, hoping it would make you sound more important at suburban dinner parties. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a man who possessed the ultimate level of global fame, recognized the sheer absurdity of this behavior. He wrote that people who are obsessed with glory attach their well-being to the regard of others, failing to see how quickly time erases all such things. He constantly reminded himself of how puny posthumous glory truly is, pointing out that praise comes from people who will soon be dead themselves and who do not even understand their own minds. When you tie your happiness to your reputation, you are willingly placing your mental stability into the hands of a fickle, unpredictable mob. The philosopher Epictetus warned that if you ever turn your attention to externals in order to please anyone, you have fundamentally ruined your scheme of life. You become a psychological slave, constantly tap dancing for an audience that is too busy worrying about their own insecurities to actually care about yours. The Stoics recognized that this endless hunger for external validation is like drinking salt water to cure your thirst. It only leaves you more dehydrated and desperate. Seneca taught that true joy is a serious, profound matter, forged deep within the soul, and that the pleasures derived from the applause of the crowd are ungrounded, thin, and superficial. To cure this miserable dependency, you must cultivate what we might call the serenity of the unbothered life. You have to actively dismantle the belief that your worth is measured by your square footage, your zip code, or the designer labels hanging in your closet. Imagine the profound, unshakable relief of sitting in a quiet, modest living room with a simple cup of black coffee, feeling absolutely no urge to prove your success or broadcast your achievements to anyone outside those walls. That is the ultimate Stoic freedom. It is the realization that the only opinion that actually matters is your own rational judgment of your own character. If you know that you are acting with integrity, courage, and disciplined fairness, the sneers or the cheers of the outside world become completely irrelevant background noise. You must train yourself to look at the relentless status games of modern society with a sense of calm, amused indifference. The next time you feel the urge to casually drop your job title in a conversation, or the temptation to buy an expensive gadget you do not actually need just to project an image of wealth, catch yourself in the act. Remind yourself that you are trading your precious, finite time on this earth for the empty illusion of looking successful to people you do not even genuinely like. When you finally stop performing for the crowd, you reclaim a massive reservoir of wasted energy. You stop chasing the exhausting moving target of public approval, and you settle into the enduring, quiet joy of simply being a good, honorable person. Once you have stripped away the exhausting need for public approval and dismantled your own fragile ego, you are finally left alone in the quiet of your own mind. And this is where you must confront the ultimate, terrifying climax of your midlife reality check. You are going to die. In your 20s and 30s, death was merely a theoretical concept, a distant event that only happened to other, older people. But now, in your 40s or 50s, the math has fundamentally changed. You have likely attended the funerals of your parents or your peers. You feel the unmistakable acceleration of passing years, and the horizon is suddenly visible. This is the exact realization that triggers the stereotypical midlife panic, causing grown men to abandon their families or buy absurdly expensive sports cars in a desperate, pathetic attempt to outrun the ticking clock. We are absolutely terrified of our own mortality, so we aggressively ignore it, pretending that we have an infinite supply of tomorrows. But the ancient Stoics believed that hiding from death is the greatest mistake a human being can make. The Roman philosopher Seneca pointed out our profound misunderstanding of time when he wrote that we are wrong to think that death lies ahead of us, because most of death has already passed us by, and whatever years lie behind us are already in the grip of death. You are not waiting to die. You are actively dying every single day. We spend our entire adult lives preparing to live, telling ourselves that we will finally relax when we reach retirement, that we will finally take that dream vacation when the children graduate from college, or that we will finally pursue our true passions when our bank accounts hit a certain arbitrary number. We treat the present moment as a mere waiting room for a future that is never actually guaranteed to arrive. Emperor Marcus Aurelius offered a radical, shocking cure for this exact delusion. He commanded himself to think of himself as dead, to accept that he had already lived his life to the fullest, and to now take whatever time was left and live it properly. This practice is known as memento mori, the deliberate daily meditation on your own inevitable demise. It sounds incredibly morbid to modern ears, but the Stoics used it as the ultimate psychological tool for liberation. When you deeply internalize the fact that your existence is temporary and that your remaining days are strictly numbered, All the trivial nonsense that has been ruining your 40s instantly evaporates. If you truly understood that you could leave life right now, would you spend your final afternoon screaming at a customer service representative over a billing error? Would you waste your precious remaining weekend hours agonizing over whether your coworker received a slightly larger office than you? Of course you would not. The awareness of death is the ultimate filter for your priorities. It completely destroys the illusion that you have time to waste on anger, jealousy, or petty grievances. It forces you to stop sleepwalking through your daily routines and starts injecting a profound, intense appreciation into the simplest acts of existence. You begin to look at your spouse, your children, and your closest friends with a renewed sense of desperate gratitude, knowing that every dinner you share could theoretically be the last. Memento mori is not a depressing surrender to the dark. It is a brilliant, blinding spotlight that forces you to finally wake up. It demands that you stop postponing your happiness, that you stop living for a fictional tomorrow, and that you start wringing every ounce of joy, virtue, and meaning out of the only thing you actually possess, which is this exact, irreplaceable present moment. This brings us to the ultimate crossroads of your midlife journey, the final reality check that will dictate exactly how you spend your remaining decades. You are standing on the threshold of the second half of your life, and the brutal truth is that you cannot stop the clock, you cannot reverse the graying of your hair, and you cannot bargain with the universe for a few extra years of youth. The physical decline is absolutely inevitable, but the miserable, bitter suffering that usually accompanies it is entirely optional. When we fight the natural progression of time, we guarantee our own misery, but when we accept it, we unlock a profound, previously unimaginable level of freedom. The ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca understood this transition perfectly, noting that we should actually cherish and love getting older, because it is full of incredible pleasure if you simply know how to properly use it. Think about the enormous, exhausting burden of your 20s and 30s, when you were constantly driven by raging hormones, a desperate need to prove yourself, and a frantic hunger for career advancement and social status. Seneca pointed out that the greatest comfort of aging is the profound relief of having finally tired out those exhausting appetites and having done with them completely. You no longer have to perform for the crowd. You no longer have to chase the shiny objects that society tells you to want. And your mind is finally free to rejoice that it has laid aside the greater part of its heavy load. Look around at the older people in your life, and you will notice a stark, undeniable divide between the ones who are miserable and the ones who are radiant. The miserable ones are those who never developed a philosophy of life, who tied their entire identity to their physical bodies and their bank accounts, and who now spend their days complaining endlessly about the weather, their joints, and how the world has forgotten them. They are terrified because they are losing the only things they ever valued. On the other hand, the radiant ones are those who cultivated their inner character, realizing that while sickness or aging might be an impediment to the body, it is absolutely not an impediment to the mind or the will. The Stoic teacher Musonius advised that developing this philosophical mindset is the absolute best preparation for your later years, because it provides an effective, permanent, antidote against the fear of weakness, failing health, or being neglected by others. To live a truly good life from this moment forward, you must commit to living in accordance with nature, performing well the exact function for which you were designed as a human being. You are not a victim of your age, and your life is not a tragedy just because it is moving into a new season. If you wake up tomorrow morning, you should welcome that brand new day with a glad and grateful heart, recognizing that every single additional 24 hours is a magnificent bonus. It is time to entirely stop looking backward with regret and to stop looking forward with anxiety. Your task right now is to accept the hand that fate has dealt you, to play it with absolute dignity, and to focus every ounce of your energy on the one thing that will never rust, age, or be taken away from you, which is the unshakable strength of your own character. You cannot change the fact that you are getting older, but you have absolute, supreme control over exactly how you respond to it. So take a deep breath, accept the reality of this beautiful present moment, and step forward into the rest of your life with absolute, unbreakable confidence. If this reality check woke you up and you are finally ready to stop living the lie and start building your internal fortress, then it is time to take action. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson on mastering your mind. Click the like button to know you want more hard truths and fewer meaningless distractions. Share this video with someone who is currently suffocating in their own midlife trap. Drop a comment below with the one Stoic principle you are going to apply today. Your new life begins now. See you next video.